How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Okay, guys, so we're going to revisit the Nancy Guthrie case. We did cover it before, but there's more stuff that's evolving. Now we're leaning more towards kidnapping. And me and Russ, in our first episode, we brought up a bunch of theories, possible sex offense, burglary. It's still not off the table, but now we have another ransom note that was just emailed to another local or the same local news station. They did the first one too. I don't think TMZ got the second one though, but we'll go over all that. And I guess now we're going to push more on the theory that this could be a kidnapping. We have a lot to cover today. We're going to go over the timeline. I got some questions I want to run by Russ. And by the way, guys, we are learning as we go, so bear with us. But through the discussions, we pick up a lot. I want to talk about the family pleas when they made it, when they were videotaped by, I'm assuming it would have been the feds, trying to kind of give them something scripted that they can go ahead and say to whoever would be holding Nancy hostage, if that's the case. And then we'll even talk about the neighborhood, and we'll even also discuss the second ransom note, the first ransom note. We're going to try to cover a lot here. So it's going to be a nice, long, deep dive, but this is good because this is the end of the day, and this should be all the coverage that we should be getting, all the updates, hopefully, unless it's a good update. All right. Russ, am I introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Russ Hamilton. I am a former and now retired sergeant from California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I began my career in 1989 at San Quentin State Prison, eventually retiring at another CDCR facility. And then beyond that, I have also been a senior juvenile correctional officer. I currently work for a private company where we do re-entry and rehabilitation work at a local county jail where I'm a case manager, and for a local county probation department. I am also the author of a book called Killing Complacency, Tactical Awareness for Correctional Professionals, and I'm often found here on Tier Talk.
Yes, it's always great to have you. Let me get myself back in here. All right, so Russ, I broke down this show. I have it into... what's this last? How many sections is it? 9? 9 sections. So we do have a lot to discuss. I got a few videos, but I want to talk about the timeline first. But so what I'm going to do first, Russ, is I am going to show this video from CBS. This is going to be the longest video we have. It's 12 minutes. After that, most of the videos, 2 minutes at the most. But this is CBS. They broke the timeline. This is one of the most recent timelines. And then I will go ahead and go through it again with Russ, because there's some questions I want to ask Russ about this timeline. And I still want to do some research on a couple of things, especially with that Ring camera, because it looks like they mentioned that it was a Ring camera, and that's important. All right, let's get this video here. Let's show it. All right, here we go.
We begin with breaking news in the search for the 84-year-old mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie. An updated timeline from authorities provides a clearer picture of the moments before and after Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. On Saturday, January 31st, around 5:32 p.m., Nancy took an Uber to her daughter Annie's home for dinner. At 9:48 p.m., Annie's husband dropped Nancy off at home, and Nancy's garage door opened. At 9:50 p.m., the garage door closed. Then at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnected. At 2:12 a.m., software detected someone on camera, but investigators can't review that video because Nancy didn't purchase a subscription, and the company says it can't be recovered. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy's Pacemaker app disconnected from her phone. Hours later, at 11:56 a.m., friends said Nancy didn't show up to church, and the family went to check on her. At 12:03, someone dialed 911, and at 12:15, the first deputies arrived on the scene. The CBS News correspondent Jonathan Vigliotti is live in front of Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson, Arizona. Jonathan, I know that you were there for today's press conference. Tell us about the new details and what stands out to you right now.
I was this close to signing the HELOC paperwork.
And Juliet, the timeline that you just listed, a significant development from that press conference. For the first time, we're getting a better sense of when Nancy Guthrie was possibly abducted. Officials now saying possibly sometime just after 2 a.m. And when you look closer at the timeline, what stands out to me, it appears that whoever entered that home could have been inside for as long as 40 minutes. Next to the blood that was found inside and outside of the home, the sheriff starting off the press conference saying that that blood was DNA tested. The results came back connecting it directly to Nancy Guthrie. At this point, no proof of life. I asked the sheriff if there were any signs that she was alive. He said, no, not at this hour. You mentioned the security cameras, and I just want to point that out one more time because it's significant here in terms of how it's hampering this investigation. They were not working, so we have no idea who entered, who left. And on top of that, this is a rural community. You can see the vegetation. It sets back homes about 20 feet or so. It is a veil, and that has meant all of the security cameras on these neighboring homes yielded nothing in terms of capturing any movement. All of this now as officials continue on day 5 to call on the public for their help, Juliet.
You know, Russ, we're going to cover a lot of what he's going to wind up saying anyway. So let's get to this timeline thing because there's a lot I want to ask you about. But hey, Russ, what do you have here, Russ?
So I just made this particular video to give us all an exact view of, you know, what the timeline looks like. And so I went through the entire internet and I got this, and this shows, you know, what happened here. It lists the victim, who she is, the location, the status, and the investigation. And then it does the victim's profile, and it goes through, you know, what she's like. After the victim profile, it'll finish up here in just a second. It goes to the next set of details, and it starts on Saturday, and it goes through, you know, everything that she did on that day, which is at 5:32. She takes the Uber. The Uber driver has been located and interviewed. 9:48, they drop her off. 9:50, the garage door closes, and that is the last confirmed safe contact. And my presentation goes on from there.
All right, so I actually have a lot of this, Russ. So let's do this. Let me get myself back. So let me remove that just for 1 second. So by the way, guys, they were able to get the vehicle in the video camera in the Uber vehicle, from what I heard. But let's go through this timeline quick. I have a couple of questions I want to ask you. So Nancy Guthrie is 84. Savannah Guthrie's mother lives alone in a brick home in Tucson, Catalina foothills near East Skyline Drive and North Campbell Avenue in a neighborhood of large, partially secluded lots. On Saturday, January 31st, 2026 at 5:32 p.m., she takes an Uber from her home to daughter Annie's house for dinner. Pima County Sheriff's Chris Nanos says investigators have spoken with the Uber driver and do not consider him a suspect. Nanos and multiple outlets emphasize that Nancy has limited mobility, cannot walk even 50 yards unaided, does not drive, and relies on daily medication that can be life-threatening if missed, which undercuts any scenario where she simply walked away or left voluntarily. ABC and Today report a normal evening, food, games, conversation with no known conflict or agitation. And former FBI agent Brad Garrett tells ABC there's nothing in that dinner that looks like a trigger. If Nancy was targeted, he suggests it was about her identity and routine, not something that night. And according to Nanos, Annie's husband, so that's Lisocioni or Thomas, according to Nanos, Annie's husband drops her back at home about 9:48 p.m. Her garage door opens at 9:48 p.m. and closes at 9:50 p.m. The last precise mechanical proof she's inside. At that time, we assume Nancy's home and probably going to bed, he says, and there's no outgoing calls, texts, or app activity from her phone after this period. Investigators have said there were multiple cameras on the property, including the doorbell and other exterior coverage, reinforcing the idea that the intruder understood home surveillance and how to neutralize it. Now, Russ, let me finish this last section with the rest of the timeline. Let's get that all in real quick.
Okay.
And then I have some questions about the timeline. But while I'm doing this, Are you able to look up to see if there's anything that says if she had surveillance cameras in her home?
Yeah, that's been talked about, but it kind of doesn't even really matter, because apparently, from what we understand, she had the Ring system. She did not have a subscription, though. So she could only view live views. She couldn't rewind. She couldn't go back. And neither can the police department or anyone else. And this is what I have found out about it so far. Whether they're being, absolutely transparent or not is another question. But I think that, one of the things here where, they're just, talking about this, we don't know. Someone could have been in the garage, for instance. I think that, right now it's, just still an open question.
Well, no, but Russ, let me get to that, because I don't want to go too far ahead, because I got more information that you may not be aware of. I'm starting to do also my due diligence and reach out to certain individuals, actually. So I got some information that I think may be relevant. The reason why I was asking if she had cameras in the house was when they took the power out the first time, I wanted people to understand how that could affect their surveillance camera, but the system. But let's get to that. So authorities believe Nancy was abducted in her sleep in the early hours of Sunday. The tight digital window comes from ABC's release timeline, NBC briefing coverage, and Pima County statement. So at 1:47 a.m., Nancy doorbell camera disconnects from the network. Nano says when investigators later process the house, the device is physically gone from its mount. ABC and other outlets note that authorities have not confirmed any cameras being smashed or destroyed around the house, only removed and taken offline. 2:12 a.m., the doorbell software detects a person on camera, but no video is available. Nano says he later suggested it might have been an animal, but analysts still treat it as a marker that something, human or not, moved at the front door after the camera went offline. 2:28 a.m., Nancy's Pacemaker app disconnects from her phone. Nano says FBI agent Heath Jank stresses this is a Bluetooth time event, not GPS, so it shows when her phone stopped seeing the device, not exactly where she was. And they say that connection is usually around 30 to 35 feet before the device will disconnect. So ABC written timeline, ABC video packages, and NBC segment all highlight this as the core backbone. Garage 9:48 to 9:50 p.m., doorbell 1:47 a.m., person detected 2:12 a.m., and Pacemaker 2:28 a.m. Cyber experts Morgan Wright and former SEAL hostage negotiator Dan O'Shea said that 1:47 to 2:28 is a roughly 41-minute operational window during which an intruder entered her world, removed or neutralized the cameras, confronted Nancy, and got her out. They stressed that removing a camera, not just smashing it, suggests someone familiar with home cameras and evidence flows. Officials and summarizing outlets underline that no cameras have been confirmed smashed, only removed or taken offline, which reinforces the idea of deliberate evidence control rather than panic vandalism. Investigators now frame that 1:47 to 2:28 window as the most likely period when Nancy was taken, with everything after that reflecting an already completed abduction rather than an ongoing domestic event. So when I was doing this yesterday, Russ, I actually thought of something, and then I saw it later on the news anyway, so I wasn't the only one to think of this, but I thought maybe someone could have disconnected the power, which would have caused the cameras to go offline, because some of these cameras aren't always ran by batteries. They could be hardwired in. And by the way, guys, good piece of advice after watching a case like this. Maybe it's not a good idea to have those cameras hardwired in, because if someone wants to cut the wires, your cameras go dark. And the reason why I was asking if you thought there was cameras on the inside, is because if they were able to, if they knew there was a security system, you never know, whoever put the security system in, if it was, or if it was done, just by family, who knows? But, cutting the power would have cut off all the cameras if they were hardwired in. And then that's when a lot of people are thinking they could have entered the home. And then maybe when that alert went off at 2:12, they could have thought, oh, maybe the cameras are still working, and the person could have removed the front camera as they brought her out. That was one of the theories. The other theory was that they cut the power off and they waited, kind of like a test. But I believe, I think they could have been in the home for about 40 minutes. I agree with that first that first thought that's been going out there. What's your thoughts on just that part of that timeline, that 41 minutes?
I think it just proves that they had no idea what they were actually doing. They weren't close enough to her to know or understand that she didn't have a cloud account. So probably what they did is, I'm assuming that perhaps there's an exterior breaker box. They go to the exterior breaker box, they turn that off, then they come back into range of the cameras, and they I'm going to assume that they removed at least that first camera. There's a good indicator of that. And then they might have knocked on the door and said they were a neighbor, or that they were concerned because they saw her power was out. Any number of pretextual excuses to get her to the door. And then once they were inside, then we don't know, but there's probably an expectation that then they took care of the rest of the cameras. This is not an indicator that they really truly knew what they were doing, because they didn't know that she didn't have an account, or they wouldn't have, or they would not have bothered with all of that. So I think that this served two functions. It was counter forensics to make sure that, nothing was going to be shown on the cameras later. And the number two thing, it was a pretextual attempt to get her to the door, to say that they were there to help her and to actually make entry. So that's the way that I view this new information anyway.
All right, so I see your perspective. I love this because we can talk about multiple perspectives. But I see it actually. I see it a bit differently. Where, if you were to cut the power to the house, that wouldn't be in the front of the house, right? That would be off to the side, or probably in the back, correct?
So typically where you have an exterior service drop is what it's called. That's where usually you find the circuit breaker box, assuming it's on the exterior. There may be also some type of secondary cutoff there. It's not necessarily in the back. It's not necessarily in the front. I don't think that we know exactly where it is in this case. If I were to overlook the house again, I would look to see if there were aerial drops, or if this is an underground type of situation. I feel that this might be underground, because I don't recall exactly, seeing any aerial drops. That means power lines, of course. Right. So they could have done this. They could have, I'm saying that, but because I do believe that there was more than one person involved. But, they could have gone around the house. They could have, got to the point where that exterior cutoff is. And that appears to me what they did. Nobody is saying exactly where this cutoff could have happened exactly at. But a lot of houses, and having been actually an electrician at one time, a lot of them are on the exterior of houses. So, this just remains to be seen. There may have been more than one service drop as well. She had a pool. If she had a pool house or something like that, there could have been another drop that was related to that area, or it could have been an extension from where the main drop is.
All right, so I like that. I'm still going to stay. I think we both have two different theories here at this point. I'm still going to stay with the one theory. I think they cut the power, which disconnected the Wi-Fi. So I want to read something here. So Nest, this is for Nest cameras, and also it could be for Rings too. Sorry, this was a Ring. It's for a Ring camera. A camera offline status usually means not talking to the cloud app. Not all of it is brains are dead, so the local sensor can still fire and log a motion event. In this case, several explanations from how smart doorbells actually work fit what we see. So the motion sensor is local hardware. inside the doorbell, so it can still detect movement and create a person detected log, even if the device has temporarily lost its cloud connection or is marked offline in the app. Offline can mean the doorbell cannot maintain a full live video session to the server, but is still partially connected to the local network or intermittently online. Users routinely report Ring Nest devices that show it offline, yet continue to send motion alerts and record clips. If there's no subscription, clips are only stored locally or for a short rolling buffer. The system can still register motion person detected at, let's say, 2:12 a.m. in the event log, but not keep playable video, which is exactly what Nanos described in this case. So real quick before I get to the second part is, I'm thinking they could be in the house. They thought they disconnected everything, and then the alert goes off on maybe the phone or some other app, and maybe the phone, because maybe the phone is charged. So they get the alert, they get nervous, and then they go to the front before they take her out, and they just remove the Nest camera. So on top of that, several things can push a doorbell offline without killing the motion sensor. Wi-Fi issues such as weak signal router reboots or interference can drop the cloud connection while devices still have power to sense motion. Power problems, low voltage, loose wiring, brief outages can cause the doorbell to reset and appear offline until it reconnects. That's what I was thinking. That's another thing. Network changes, new router, new password, firewall tweaks can knock it off the network, even though its local sensor is still functioning. Firmware app glitches sometimes make apps show devices as offline while they continue to detect and log motion locally. And intentional tampering, removing the unit, cutting power, unplugging, or jamming the router will also produce offline status. In Nancy Guthrie's case, officials said the camera went offline at 1:47 a.m. and was later found physically gone from its mount, which strongly suggests deliberate removal rather than a random Wi-Fi hiccup. So the simplest technical read is the doorbell dropped off the cloud service app view at 1:47, but the onboard sensor and software still fired on movement at 2:12 and wrote a bare bones person detected event with no subscribed cloud storage and a removed device. There's no retrievable footage left behind. So, I mean, the power problem or the intentional tampering, I have a feeling they cut the power, Russ, because they may have been familiar with the system. And then I think they went in. Do you think they were in the house for 40 minutes?
I think that there's every indication that that probably is true. But you would just go from the point of, they might have waited a little while once they cut the power. Once they cut the power, pretty much there's, most people don't have that buffer on their actual connection to the internet. It's just, they cut the power and then the router is essentially dead. So the only thing left are things with batteries in it. The phone would have been left, but we don't know what kind of actual service that she has there. So that might have been a problem. And then maybe they might have waited a little bit to make the pretextual idea look even better. And I think this is a perfect pretextual idea. Just think about it from the standpoint of, hey, are you okay in there? We saw that your power is out. And get her to the door, get her to open it up. And so after a few minutes, she probably did that. They might have had an expectation that cell tower service maybe isn't the greatest in the area. But I think that those are the two things that really look important to me. They probably didn't know for sure. They would have had to probably been very close to her to know whether or not she had actual access. Now, there was a report that was out that she had placed something on Nextdoor where she was examining the idea about getting a better system, and she may have put something about that on there with regards to whether or not her system was actually connected to the cloud or not, or someone may have been able to infer that.
Wait, is that what she put on social media?
Something like that.
Because that was in 2021.
Yeah, that was in 2021. But either way, there's a good chance, if you're going to knock the power out, that nothing is going to be streamed upward from the cloud. And so you're in pretty good shape with knocking out the power. Because I mean, like, how many people have their router connected to a secondary power source? And if they do, what does that look like? Are they still able to, maintain that connection? I know, for instance, at my own abode, I have Starlink. And so Starlink, I run to a secondary power source so that if the power goes out, I always have internet access. But I doubt that that's what she had. So, take it for what it's worth. They did some counter forensics. They're at least smart enough to know that, or they're smart enough to at least tweak on that. And that just kind of like gets me all the way back around to the type of people who I think were maybe involved in this.
Yeah, I also thought like even maybe they could have thought they could have snuck in for a burglary, and then she may have caught him in the act. And but then again, they're taking her out of the home. So to me, if and granted, if they had did something that they didn't want to be ID'd for, a couple of things could have happened. Is they could have, and guys, this is just the speculation. Hopefully, it's not the case, but they could have killed her on site, or if there was more than one person, they could have had an argument about killing her on site, and that's why they took her. Because maybe they did not want it. Maybe one of them didn't want to do it, and they wind up taking her out of the house. Because my original theory for either the sexual offense or the burglary, they took her out of the house, the abduction. So then when Russ saw that, he made a smart, it could be a kidnapping, or it could be people that wanted to go in for a burglary and also did not, maybe she ID'd them, and there was concerns about, getting caught, and then concerns about taking her out. Now, what Russ said about the thing, it was 2021. In November 2021, Nancy posted on Nextdoor asking neighbors about the best outdoor camera to monitor activity at night. In that post, she wrote that she was thinking about buying a Ring or a Nest security doorbell camera, and asked which one offers the superior camera quality, interested in seeing animal activity at night. And screenshots of the thread show it was location tagged at Tucson, Catalina foothills, and articles note that she did not appear to follow up in the comments after neighbors replied. So there was a 2021 Nextdoor post where Nancy publicly asked about doorbell security cameras for nighttime activity around her home. Now this brings us to the next section. Anything you want to say about the timeline, Russ, real quick before we go to the next day, the last part of that timeline?
Yeah, it seems unlikely, but not out of the realm of possibility, that there was no entry into the garage. Nobody was waiting. That's a lot of time to wait around for any particular reason. So I feel that the time of the first electrical cutoff there was probably the time at which they approached her. And so, what we know with that, around 40 minutes inside the house. What does 40 minutes get you? 40 minutes get you to the point where you're ready to move the individual. Probably, maybe, like I said, maybe there was some waiting for that pretextual idea for them to say, hey, you know what? Now we knock on the door. It's 5 minutes later, 10 minutes, 15, whatever seems most believable. So that you can say, hey, I'm your neighbor. Hey, I'm your local police officer. Hey, I'm this or that. Do you need any help in there? Because I know your electricity is off. And so I think that is the kind of duplicitous thing that they would use in order to be able to gain access. So, once I heard this about the electricity going off, instantly I went to, a pretext. Okay. And so pretext is just an excuse to knock on your door. It's an excuse to get inside. It's an excuse to pretend that you're caring about that person and that you're going to make sure that everything is okay. And so once you make entry, what do? You have to know whether or not she's contacted somebody. So you take a look at the phone. You take a look and see, did she send a text message? Did she make a phone call? Hey, nope, we're good to go. And so at that point, then they did whatever had to be done in order to prepare her for moving out. We don't know exactly when, why, or how the injury occurred that caused that bleeding. I'm working from the prospect that, maybe she resisted, maybe somebody got a little too heavy-handed, and then we end up with blood. And I'm going to guess that there was blood probably from around her bedroom or thereabouts out to the front door and beyond it, because that's what we know. Certainly what we know for certain is that there was blood from the front door out onto the concrete area that's in front of that front door.
Yeah, so I got it. The pretext at 2 something in the morning. I mean, I don't know if she would open it straight up like that, but it could be. You never know. All things are on the table. I figure that the best thing is somehow they got into the home. They haven't confirmed if there was forced entry or not. It was asked at one of the press conferences, and he didn't confirm or deny. He just said that there was a rumor mill going around about forced entry, and he kind of left it there, but he didn't say if it was true or not, because I think it's relevant to the investigation. Again, we see that with a lot of cases, even with the
let's flesh that out a little bit, though. We know that several agencies, and I mean media agencies, at some point approach that front door, and they may have only filmed themselves by that front door, but you can bet that they took an opportunity to walk around. If they had seen a broken window or a broken door or something like that, they would have filmed that. They would have said something about that. So
I agree with that. I know I don't know if they're allowed to just walk into the backyard and stuff, but maybe going up to the front door, they can. Maybe they're able to go to the front door, but I don't know if the media could just crawl into people's private property and start taking videos of stuff that's in the back that can't really be seen from a public space. I don't know. Maybe some would, but I don't know if they're able to do that. But I wanted to mention something.
We're talking about TMZ here, right?
Yeah, I know. I get it, but I know the front was more accessible. It didn't look like anything from the front, but I think that's why they're asking, could there have been a forced entry, I guess, in general? Maybe, I don't know if they can go around back. I'm going to look up that. But what I was trying to say is that, I find it more likely that there has to be either some controlled entry, let's just say that, where they were able to get themselves in, maybe not even forcefully, maybe they managed to leave a door, I don't know, or they forced themselves in. I just find it highly unlikely that they rung the doorbell at whatever time under the pretext that your electric's out, but you never know. That's just, us having our dialogue. And then I believe at one point, she became an obstacle to whatever it is they wanted to accomplish, whether they were trying to burglarize the house and she caught them, or if it's one person, if he was trying to sexually assault her and, he took her out. And I think it could relate to a nosebleed. A lot of people think that the drops come from a nose. Let me read the next part now. So actually, let me look up that one more thing. Can reporters...
See, it's not, to me, it's not can they, it's would they.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be able to, Russ, if they were to air that and that got caught out there, Russ, how would they be able to justify how they got that information?
Well, because let me tell you, this is the way that I think reporters think, is they're going to go around and they're going to do what they're going to do. And then if they see something, do we record this or do we just report on it or do we say something? And then they're in the clear. They don't necessarily do that. They can say, oh, you know what? Our report, who's closely aligned with the investigation that's going on, said that, the back window was broken. And they will find a pretextual thing like that to say. That's why I don't think.
So they can't. So lawfully, Reporters cannot lawfully just walk into Nancy's backyard or any private yard to inspect for forced entry unless they have permission from someone with authority over the property. No special access for press. Courts have been clear that the First Amendment does not give journalists extra rights to enter private property that the general public doesn't have. Trespass rules apply to reporters. Entering a private yard or home without the owner's consent or someone legally authorized to give it is trespass, and there is no First Amendment defense to criminal trespass. Arizona law, in Arizona, entering or remaining unlawfully in or on a residential structure is a felony. Entering or unlawfully remaining in a fenced residential yard is a class 1 misdemeanor. That applies to reporters just like anyone else. So if a lawful owner or agent, a family member, authority, or a property manager explicitly invites them into the backyard, they can enter within the scope of that consent. There are narrow situations where reporters may follow emergency personnel onto property based on custom and usage, but courts have increasingly rejected broad implied consent, especially for entering homes and clearly private areas. And I've been watching Brian, and I'm a big fan. Actually, let me show you something from him now. He does stuff around the property, but he never does stuff in the backyard. Let me show you a few videos. But let me show you this one real quick. This one bothers me. Wait, hold on. This one bothers me the most, Russ. Hold on. Wait, there it goes. This one bothers me the most. I'll tell you why. I love how news reporters, like let's say a crime like this, they wind up just showing everybody how vulnerable the neighborhood is, how dangerous it could be. Like, so this is him, and he's outside the property. They never show, unless it's an overview, the backyard. So I have a feeling the reason why they could be asking for the forced entry, Russ, is they haven't walked through the back.
So I'm outside Nancy Guthrie's house still here in Tucson. Super dark here at night, by the way. I showed you guys last night, but like there's no street lights or anything.
Just show how vulnerable the neighborhood
around the time that she was allegedly abducted. It's like super dark out here. But the latest, you guys probably saw the video put out by Cameron, Nancy's son, right around 5 o'clock local time, which was the first deadline that we were told about by the FBI in the ransom letter. Remember, there's apparently 2 deadlines.
Actually, we'll get to that. Let me see if I can show you.
Hey guys, so I just got out.
He shows you the front door.
I'm outside Nancy Guthrie's house still here in Tucson.
Let me show you where he does the front door of the property. That would be right here.
Hey guys, all right guys. Hey guys. Hey guys, so something interesting is happening. All right, guys, some new information. This is actually coming from
President Trump. Let me go back down again. I want to show you where he shows the front door. It just keeps on so sensitive. It keeps clicking. Here, let's do this one.
Guys, so I'm outside Nancy. Hey guys, so some breaking news here. There is something interesting. All right, guys, some new information.
I'm just going to leave it where it's at. It's very hypersensitive for some reason. Here.
Hey guys, so some breaking news.
Oh, here. Maybe they don't want to.
So something interesting is happening. All right, guys, some new information. This is actually.
Maybe it doesn't want to. Maybe it's short. It should still be there.
All right, guys, some new information. This is actually coming from President.
Oh, it won't show that video for some reason.
He was asked.
That's weird. That's the video where he's going up the stairs. And he notices the droplets of blood.
Hey guys, so some breaking news here. There is now apparently a second note that has arrived.
All right, that's weird. Sorry about that, guys. That must be a technical error on YouTube, huh?
A cover up.
Yeah, something weird that it wouldn't show the. Anyway, so around 11 a.m. Sunday, this is the next day. A fellow churchgoer calls Nancy's family to say she never arrived at service. At 11:56 a.m., relatives go to her house and discover she is missing. At 12:03 p.m., they call 911. Nano says deputies arrive around 12:15 p.m., tape off the home, and begin processing it as a crime scene. Just so you know, when we first covered this, the time frame almost had the family in the house for about an hour, and we were talking about contamination of crime scene. That's not the case. Looks like they were there for about maybe 7 minutes before they made the call. On the front porch, and they have and she has a big house, so that makes sense. On the front porch and doorway, they find biological DNA, later confirmed by officials to be Nancy's blood. Inside her phone, wallet, they find her phone, wallet, medication, and vehicle remain. strengthen the conclusion that she did not leave voluntarily and would have needed help to go anywhere. Initially, investigators processed the house and then released it back to the family. But as lab results and digital analysis come in, they realize the doorway and interior may hold more than the first pass captured, because they seal it, they unseal it, they seal it, they unseal it, and then the last thing I saw recently, this was actually, hopefully I could show you this video at least. It's a short, but Brian Etten is he's just there, and his last video, or I think it's his last video or second to last video. Here it is. What's going on? So let me show you this. This is playing.
All
Yeah.
the media leave this block.
This is
Hey guys, so
right here.
so something interesting is happening outside the house. So all of these sheriff's deputies showed up, and they are now, you see down there, they are closing off the road, and they're making all the media leave this block. So we're not going to be able to be in front of the house anymore. They said this is for investigation reasons. And
You got the power
so
strip
we
too.
don't know what they're about to do with the house, but they don't want the media in front of the house anymore. So basically everybody out here has been told to pack up, and she's saying they need room for their investigators.
Very, very much.
Oh, you bet.
Thank
We
you, sir.
appreciate all you do for us.
I'm sorry.
On the other side of those cones.
Yeah, see those cones right there? That's
She said they need room for their investigators to do what they need to do. So something is about to happen out here from an investigative standpoint, and we're all going to have to move. But it's interesting. They had the crime scene in the beginning, they took it down. They had another crime scene, they took it down, and now they are apparently going to be doing more out here.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's good. Get the media as far away so they can have the ability to do their job. I mean, they're like vultures here. So KRDO and PBS note that detectives returned to resecure the property with tape and process it again for several hours before releasing it a second time, reflecting how quickly the case has shifted from missing to a tightly bracketed abduction centered on the front door. Commentators have pointed out that shifting public explanations about the cameras in the house being released, then retaped, have contributed to public frustration, even as the core digital spine has stayed the same. The time frame is still the same, though. This second time, or the third time they may have unsealed, or whatever the number is, the most recent time is because of the second, I believe it's because of the second ransom note that was just sent, because that was today. So by Monday, Nanos tells reporters that Nancy did not leave on her own, and then more firmly, we do in fact have a crime. She was taken from her home against her will. CBS, ABC, NPR, and others report that the FBI has formally joined, and Pima County and FBI announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to a recovery or to the arrest and conviction of those involved. Nanos also says they have now spoken to everyone who regularly worked at Nancy's home, the landscaping crew, pool maintenance, and a possible housekeeper, and that all have been cooperative and provided potentially helpful information. Investigators are canvassing the area for video, asking nearby businesses for every exterior facing camera angle, pulling footage from major intersections and city streetlight cameras, and working around the fact that Nancy's neighborhood is very dark with few streetlights. NBC reports that police are reviewing surveillance from a local Circle K gas station after a tip about a possible vehicle or vehicles of interest there, but stress it's not yet clear whether that lead is actually tied to Nancy's abduction. Neighbors and local leaders describe Catalina Foothills as a low crime, so safe community where some residents say there's no need for streetlights and have lived decades without hearing of serious crimes, but also note the streets are quiet, mostly unlit at night, and homes are spaced far apart. That combination, a secluded dark street pattern, few streetlights, and inconsistent home surveillance made the abduction feel unthinkable to many residents, yet also left the neighborhood more vulnerable and harder to reconstruct on video, which is why authorities and commentators have urged people to be cautious about how much they publicly advertise the area, safety and layout, how much they publicly advertise the area's safety and layout while the investigation is ongoing. And investigators and federal partners also stress that at this point, no one has been eliminated. Nanos and Janky, the FBI, both say that everyone who intersects the timeline is being looked at, and it would be irresponsible to rule anyone out prematurely. I mean, Russ, what do you think about that neighborhood? Were you able to get a picture of her house, the overview?
Yeah, I didn't know which one exactly was her. Basically, what it looks like is there is some houses back in there. There's a lot of space between them. There is a lot of, ways that I would say the vegetation and the space between them kind of just like blocks everything, for whatever that's worth.
I have some pictures of the house here, so you could see why it would be hard to get the footage. There's so many trees. Let me show you a picture. This is one. Here, let me show you this image. So this is her house. Let me just make sure this is her house before I show it, because it's huge. Let me just see. Nancy. Let me just see if this is her house. Yeah, that is her house, huh? That's her house. It's a big. I'm not gonna lie to you. Everything we know about Nancy house, her house is it's a big house. If this is her house, geez, look at this and look at the area. Let me share it, guys. It's a view from above and to the side. Here, let me show you. Look at this house, Russ.
Oh, I've seen it many times. It has the pool. It has a green area in the back. It has an off-site, I don't know, you call it I don't know if it's like a mother-in-law's quarter kind of thing, or if that's, part of the rest of the house with regards to, mechanical and stuff like that. So I've seen it plenty of times.
Yeah, I'm looking. It's big, man. Let me close this picture out. It says here, a detailed entertainment real estate write-up says Nancy Catalina's Foothill home is 3,776 square feet with 5 bedrooms and 4.5 baths on nearly an acre of arid land with a pool. A property data listing for the specific Camino Escalante address associated with her shows 3,114 square feet of living area on a 42,321 square foot lot. So just under 1 acre. That's a big house, right?
Yes, it's not quite palatial, but certainly on the upper end.
It's double my size of my house. Let me get to this next. They say her house right now is currently valued at $1.1 million, and that's as of February 2026. It's a good sized house, man. All right, let's get to the next part. So remember, Russ, we thought the original news report, we thought that they were in the house for about an hour or so, something like that. Turns out it was only about 7 minutes. Where do
you get the 7 minutes from?
That's the time they entered the house and when they made the 911 call. They entered the house at 11:56 a.m. and then called at 9:03 p.m. So they were only in the house.
Oh, you're talking about the family, not the kidnappers.
Yeah, the family. So remember when we first did it, everybody thought they were in the house for like an hour. I was like, even we said, what the hell are they doing in the house for that long before they realized something happened?
Yeah, especially if they saw that blood outside,
Oh yeah, that would have been one of the that would have been definitely something that they would have seen as soon as they walked up those stairs.
Yeah, well, we don't know for sure which way they entered. Did they enter through the garage? Did they enter through the back? So I think that can be called into question. But yeah, 7 minutes seems a much more appropriate amount of time.
Well, I don't know if they entered through the garage because part of the timeline would have been on that digital. They would have added the digital entry of the garage on the timeline.
Well, we don't know what the police would tell us though with regards.
No, they were. I think they went through the front door.
If they did that, then they certainly saw the blood.
Yeah, because if they put in the timeline when they got there and when the call, they would go by what would be more specific. If they went through the garage, they would have went by the garage time because that would be more specific than an estimation probably from the family. So this gets to the ransom note. So while physical work continues at the house, a new unsettling layer appears. Ransom-style emails that go not to the Guthries, but to news outlets. So on Monday night, February 2nd, an email arrives at KOLD 13 in Tucson. Anchor Mary Coleman later tells CNN, people in the New York Post, that it came via email and that after reading only a few lines, she realized it might not be a hoax because it contained a specific dollar amount, a specific deadline, and very sensitive information and things that people who weren't there when she was taken captive wouldn't know. KOLD immediately forwards the email to Pima County and the FBI to examine IP data and other headers, and does not report its contents on air. Well done for them. The opposite of what shameful TMZ did. But they knew, hey, this is law enforcement sensitive, and they did the right thing with it. Around the same time, another Tucson station, KUGN, and national outlet TMZ get similar emails. And on February 3rd, TMZ publishes that it has received an alleged ransom note demanding a multi-million-dollar Bitcoin payment to a specific wallet in exchange for Nancy's safe return, and labels it unverified, saying it was given the note to law enforcement. CNN, Scripps, and Fox summarized it simply as at least 3 outlets, KOLD, KGUN, and TMZ, have received ransom-style emails related to Nancy's disappearance. And by the way, Harvey Levin, since he got that, has been on multiple news outlets, CNN, Fox, just putting it out there. Just that's what he does. And former FBI agent and negotiators on Fox, NPR, Law and Crime, and News Nation call this highly atypical. Ingenuine, kidnapped for ransom operations, captors almost always establish a direct channel to the family or a negotiator, supply proof of life, and keep contact going because ransom is treated as a business. Here, the demands are routed through media with no confirmed way for the family to communicate back. So it's unique because they had 2 deadlines. One of them's already expired. That was Thursday at 5. That was yesterday, February 5th at 5 o'clock. And then there's another one for Monday, but before that one could expire, they sent another ransom note. Now, I wanted to show you guys the plea from the family. So this is going to be Savannah's plea. And then I thought we could break that down a little bit. But hey, Russ, what's your thoughts first? I mean, sending out a ransom note, and yet you still haven't called the family, or you haven't made any contact.
So, really the only choices here are, first of all, if it's real, why not provide some type of proof of life? So they haven't said that has been provided. The second part that occurs to me is that if there is no proof of life, these are people that are just, trying to scam. So it just doesn't feel like this is a real, true type of ransom note. I think that what we might be looking at here is just, a bunch of copycatters, a bunch of people trying to scam on it. And then beyond that, we don't know for sure if a real ransom note has been deposited, because I think that they would keep a much tighter rein on that if they knew about a source of something where proof of life was proposed or provided. I think that they would be absolutely not talking to the media about that at all.
Yeah, and guys, by the way, there is, let me get myself, what the hell is not, there it goes. People were asking, let's say this was real. I mean, again, they're still trying to figure it out. I just think they're entertaining every avenue. The reason why they said they would choose Bitcoin is because criminals like Bitcoin in ransom cases because it lets them move large amounts of money quickly. They could use different names. They can move anonymously and irreversibly while still being easy to verify. Key reasons that match what's being reported in Nancy's case is obviously they're not using real names. So a Bitcoin address isn't tied to a real world name, email, or street address by default. So just knowing the wallet doesn't immediately reveal who controls it. It's easy to move big money. Moving millions in cash is bulky and risky. Moving millions in Bitcoin is as simple as a single transaction on the blockchain, which is why a former FBI agent calls crypto the currency of choice for criminals. And then it's irreversible once paid. Bitcoin transactions are effectively irrefutable. No chargebacks like with credit cards or bank transfers. So once a ransom is sent, the payer can't claw it back. Instant verification. The kidnappers can watch the blockchain and see it in real time, whether the exact amount hit their address, which makes it easy to enforce deadlines like by 5 p.m. and then their conditions. And they hope it's hard to trace back to them. While experts point out that the blockchain analysis tools can often trace flows of Bitcoin, separating wallets from real-world identity still takes serious work, and criminals bet investigators won't be able to connect that last mile from a wallet to a person, especially if they use mixers, exchanges with weak KYC or layered addresses. So US Today, Forbes, and others basically sum it up this way in connection with Nancy's case. Bitcoin is fast, global, and one way, and it is, people can use whatever name they want. Design feels untraceable to criminals, which is why they keep putting millions in Bitcoin into ransom notes like the one sent about Nancy Guthrie. Now, let me get back to where I was here. Sorry, guys. I wanted to find about the Bitcoin. So I'm going to show you guys the ransom notes, but let's get to that. I'm sorry, the pleas, but I'll get to that in a second. I want to read one more thing because the pleas are actually section 6. We're going to be on section 5, so I don't want to jump the gun. We're almost done. We're halfway through almost, but we're going to speed through it a little bit now. The funny thing here, Russ, is a lot of the people that I've been watching these videos. They said that, and maybe things are changing, we don't know, but they said that usually you would have had some type of interaction with the family soon after that. There would have been some talks, some parts for negotiation or something, and then now that they missed the first deadline, who puts 2 deadlines in at once? It's usually, got to get to this deadline. There's some negotiation. Show us that she's alive and we'll send you something. But there hasn't been any of that type of interaction. That's why a lot of people may think that, like you just said, it could be people just playing a game and hopping on the bandwagon. But there's also some specifics that are in those ransom notes that's giving them reason to take it a bit more serious, because they talked about property that was damaged that you wouldn't know unless you were somehow familiar with the crime scene. So,
or you're making a really educated inference.
Well, they said a floodlight being broken. Very specific. Cross-checked reporting and law enforcement briefings show a consistent pattern in the ransom emails. So money and method. They demand several $1 million in Bitcoin wired to a specific wallet address. Outlets including TMZ and Bitcoin-focused coverage verify that the wallet is valid and can receive funds. 2 deadlines. Jank, the FBI, confirms the note sets a first deadline at 5 p.m. Thursday, which was February 5th. That's expired. And a second Monday, February 9th, threatening that Nancy will be killed if payment isn't made by Monday. Nancy Grace and CBS repeat that structure explicitly. An initial demand for 5 p.m. today, and if not paid, a second deadline the following Monday. Status of Nancy. The emails reportedly say she's okay but scared, but they provide no proof of life, no contemporaneous photo, no code phrase, no live sign. Only the family would know. Nano Shank, the FBI guy, and the FBI repeatedly say that despite taking the note seriously, there's no proof of life, and the senders have not responded to the family's public plea. And then you have, okay, Russ.
So I was just looking through things that have been reported. There was a flyover by Fox News drone that pointed out that there were some apparently floodlights that were broken. So is that something that someone could have glommed onto to try and prove that they were there? That's the kind of thing that I look at. I also wonder about, okay, if I were going to try and run a scam on this, that area, while it's been flooded by some reporters, if you go back at night, you break out a couple of floodlights, you come back, you present that evidence, trying to get something, put into your Bitcoin wallet. And then at that point there, what do you say? Well, hey, I know about these broken floodlights. Why do these why does this sheriff's department suddenly come back and start looking at things? Are they looking at those floodlights? Is that something that they didn't look at before? So while it's troubling and while it's a potential lead, it's also something that can potentially be manipulated, if you catch my drift there.
No, I remember, because when we did the very first episode, remember I said during the press conference, he had said all the things that they didn't know. And I said, well, maybe someone could have easily just said, well, I know they don't know this, so I'm going to say we know it, and use that as a way to try to validate that ransom note. And then you have the unreleased details. So the emails include details not previously made public, including a particular damaged object at the house, references to an Apple Watch and a floodlight, and a clothing detail that contradicted earlier assumptions and forced outlets to correct what they reported Nancy was wearing. TMZ's own write-up notes that during a live stream, they initially described an item of clothing as being worn, but the note explicitly said she was not wearing it, prompting a correction. News Nation Brian Enton also highlights that the note includes specific information about Nancy's clothing and items inside the home, details he said had not been disclosed publicly at the time. So what would be unique is, would the family know what clothing she has? And if they were to say, hey, she's wearing this type of clothing, and the family could say, yes, that clothing is missing, then, there may be some relevance there. Like I could be stalking her, let's say, for a while, I know what she wears, but to have that specific clothing missing, that would be a bit unique. Unless you want to see, if she has any clothes being washed at that time or whatnot, explain why it's not there. But if they can explain specific clothing that the family believes she owned, that's not there. So I may see her wearing this in a picture, but is that clothing in the house? No, it's not in the house. That could be something interesting, right? Would you agree?
I mean, it could be. There are people that are particularly gifted with being able to, take small amounts of information and be able to, expand it to a point where it's actually usable. So, I just think that it's really hard to say at this point, because they've kind of given away the farm, so to speak.
No, what I'm saying, Russ, though, if they mention she's wearing clothing and the family says, yes, she owns that, and we can't find that clothing in her closet, let's say, that's strong.
But that's my point is that they may be able to infer something, and with regards to clothing, and be able to get a takeaway for it.
No, I'm saying, but think about the connection to that, Russ. If the family knows she owns this item of clothing, they know it. They know that she has this clothing that they're explaining, and then when they go to check the closet, they can't find that piece of clothing. That's strong evidence. I mean, it's not saying it is. I'm just saying, but that's something. Like if I can say, yo, she owns that shirt. He's saying she has that nightgown, or she's wearing. Maybe she was taken out in her nightwear. She does own something like that looks like this. I can't find it. I don't know where it is. It's not in the house. That I think could be a big piece of evidence to validate. If you know what she's wearing and you're telling us what she's wearing, then that shouldn't be in the home. And if we know what she's wearing, know her outfits, maybe that's her favorite nightie, and she doesn't. It's not in the house. I mean, I think that's strong. I mean, how else would they know that and then it not be in the house, if that's the case? I mean, it says clothing. So Mary Coleman calls the letter very sensitive and carefully crafted, and both the LA Times and New York Post underline that this is not something that looks dashed off in 5 minutes. TMZ founder Harvey Levin goes further, describing it as very specific, well-organized, layered, saying this is not a hastily written letter and this is not the result of artificial intelligence. He notes that the author appears to know exactly where an Apple Watch sat in the home and how a floodlight was positioned, which he argues points to someone physically familiar with the property or getting details from someone who is. But you said they had an overview. Levin also says there's a very specific phrase in the email that convinces him that if the writer is telling the truth, Nancy's being held within a radius around the Tustin area, possibly as far as the New Mexico, but not across the country. He emphasizes that this gives authorities a rough geographic radius, not a pinpoint location. Retired FBI officials tell CBS and NPR that these are the kinds of unreleased specific negotiators use to test authenticity, while warning that leaks or close in gossip can arm a hoaxer. And that's what we just said. So Harvey Levin, we're not a big fan. Me and Russ aren't. He shouldn't be giving out information like this because, again, like Russ said, people find out about it and then they could play in. Now it's hard to tell if it's a hoax or not because there's nothing specific that has been protected with some level of integrity. But there was a video of Harvey Levin trying to say that there was something in the note that he could figure out a distance and how much time it would take to drop her back off to the family. And he kind of did this thing where he went out and did a radius of possible areas where she could be. And the emails also reportedly boast that there is no way to trace or contact the sender, but cybersecurity specialists and former agents point out that email headers, IP routes, and VPN patterns often give investigators enough for attribution. Dan O'Shea, who has worked kidnappings worldwide, tells Elizabeth Vargas from News Nation that unlike any case he has seen, the senders are not playing by the rules. They route demands through media, provides no proof of life, and show a propensity for violence at the scene, via Nancy's blood at the stoop. He and other negotiators underline the core principle: never pay, especially not millions, without proof of life. You agree with that, Russ, right? You think I'm going to pay if you can't tell me my loved one is still alive?
Yeah, proof of life is everything in a situation like this, and proof that you are the person that's being talked to. That's why, unfortunately, I know that people may not like this, but I believe that there's a strong possibility that she perished immediately after that. And that's why I think that nobody that actually knows is actually sending any of these notes out. I know that that's probably, an unpopular viewpoint, but there's nothing to prove at this point from what we've been told. Now, that's not to say that they don't have other avenues that have proved more fruitful, if you will, but it's just an indicator that, all of this is all about the hype that's on there. There's a bunch of, sicko randos on there that are going to try and do things about this. There's a bunch of even sicker people that are going to try and take advantage of the situation and get themselves rewarded in the process. That's why, though, right now, based on what we know from what's been released, that there is no proof of life.
So, Russ, so remember, when did our first show, you were leaning in hard on the ransom, her taken hostage. What's the change here now? What are you leaning towards?
I don't think it's a change. I think I said from the outset that I worry about the fact that something happened and that she perished in the process.
No, but you pushed hard that that she could have been taken for ransom.
Yes, and I think that she probably was, but I think that when you no longer have a way to establish proof of life, then what do you do?
Oh yeah, all right. Now I want to show you guys the pleas. So I got Savannah's here. Let me share this, and then I want to break it down because obviously, just to give you some background. Actually, you know what? Let me give you what I have here first. Then we can watch the video with this information in the back of our mind. So on Monday, February 2nd, Savannah posts the first written plea on social media, thanking people for prayers for our beloved mom and asking for a safe return. On Wednesday, February 4th, 4 days into the search and the day before the first Bitcoin deadline, the siblings record a video that runs on NBC, ABC, CNN, Good Morning America, YouTube, NPR, and elsewhere. Savannah addresses the sender. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we're doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk, which means that they're ready to talk. Tell us if our mom's alive. That's what she means by we're ready to talk, not that she's holding information. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know without a doubt that she's alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. She then speaks to Nancy. Mommy, if you're hearing this, you're a strong woman. Everyone is looking for you. Mommy, everywhere. will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. An audio played by Nancy Grace and others, and other shows. Cameron Guthrie adds, "Whoever is out there holding our mother." Cameron Guthrie is Savannah's brother, Nancy's son. "Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward." I'll show you his too. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. Commentators and former negotiators say the siblings' messages do what families are coached to do: humanize the victim, which you'll see at the very beginning, indicate willingness to communicate, which they did. We were ready to talk. They're doing exactly what the script tells them to do, and insist on proof of life and avoid negotiating specific terms on air, which is exactly a common script in this case. So that's why I law enforcement definitely helped them put it together. Some people even saw when they went back to the house. I mean, it was Annie's house. I forget which house, but they had set something up to do the recording. May have been Annie's house, if I remember. Okay, let me show you the one with Savannah real quick. Let me just close some of these out, and let's show you this one. Right here. Here it goes. These are short. This one's all 5 minutes.
News now. Today, host Savannah Guthrie has posted a video on social media. This is the first time we're hearing from her and her family. This just came in. We want to share it with you right now. Let's take a listen.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny, spunky, and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She's 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you, Mom. We love you.
A powerful family's plea. That is the first time that we are hearing from Today host Savannah Guthrie and her sister and her brother. A plea to bring her mother home, specifically talking to whoever out there may have her or have information, and also a heartfelt message to their mother, who they adore and love, and say that she is the center of their family. You can tell just by their emotion that they are torn, but they are trying to do their best to send a message out to whoever needs to hear that. Again, this is someone who has been in the media, Savannah Guthrie, for decades. This is the first time that she has to now talk about her own mom 4 days after she went missing and is now reported kidnapped. And all this new information coming in, the family trying to sort it out and deal with detectives and the FBI and the news reports that are circulating, some that may be true, some that maybe not true, a ransom note that is circulated as well. But again, that was the first time that we heard from the family in that social media post, and we played it for you in its entirety, and we'll continue to do that throughout CBS News 24/7 as the search for Nancy Guthrie continues. So we'll continue to.
Let me show you the other one before you dive deep in this. I got the brothers too, Cameron's. So hold on one second. We have one more. Then we have two more sections and we'll be wrapping this up. Let me show you the brothers. Here it goes. His video is a bit quicker. He's solo. This is about 40 seconds.
Guthrie family just released within the past 20 minutes.
Savannah Guthrie posted this to her social media. It's her brother talking about a possible ransom in regards to their missing mother. Let's take a look.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
We will, of course, continue to follow this story and have more on.
Obviously, both were scripted. He was scripted as well, which is safe. Keep things safe. You don't want to go off key. But what's your thoughts? I mean, smart move. I agree. If just in case it is this, let's start, because they had that first deadline. That recording from Cameron was after, I believe, the first deadline of February 5th, 5 p.m. had expired.
Yeah, I think that, this is just really covering all the bases. I think that the fact that they did this, what did you say the time was, the timeline on that?
So February 4th, wait, hold on, give me a second. Wednesday, February 4th, 4 days into the search and the day before the first Bitcoin deadline, was the family, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron. And then Cameron's, I believe, was after. Let me just double check. What I think his was after. Was Cameron plea after the first deadline? I think his was after the first deadline. Well, that's when I saw it. Let me just make sure. I believe that one was after the first deadline had expired. And I'll be honest with. Oh no, sorry. His most discussed plea was right around the time of the first deadline elapsed, not after it by hours or days. So the ransom, I didn't say hours. The ransom note first deadline was 5 p.m. Thursday, February 5th, with a second deadline the following Monday. Outlets include NBC, RTE, and Realtor.com note that Cameron's video basically need a way to communicate what it was posted near the deadline around the time that a 5 p.m. ransom deadline elapsed. So it's almost around the same moment. But you know what's unique here, Russ? It's good that when it got close to that first deadline, instead of them getting nervous and putting out more videos and all this other stuff, they stayed controlled. They kept control, and then maybe one right around the same time it elapsed.
I think that's also an indicator, unfortunately, of desperation. I think that they were probably told that none of these ransom things were believed to be real at that point. And so what do? You go forward, you ask for contact. I don't see a reason for doing that if they believe that actual contact had already been made, for whatever that's worth.
So right, I think again they're entertaining that avenue. Whether they think it's real, they just don't have enough information to weed it out. And that's the thing about when you're investigating something, it's not just looking for what's there, but also weeding out stuff that are just obstacles that are like the red herrings. And I will tell you one thing: if they ever catch the person, if this is fake, and they ever catch a person that put that ransom, they're going to be in some shit federally. I mean, in a show I did the other day, we talked about Derek Kalilia's fake ransom, and we talked about everything that he could possibly be facing. We may revisit a little bit here today. That's the one who sent the text, but you don't mess with the feds at this point. Would you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, I mean, just this is just some hanger-on lowlife that thought maybe he could get his cut of their particular distress.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing to here. Can you add into what I already? Okay, so let's get to the next. So this is the last video I have. It's just going to talk a little bit more about the imposter that they arrested. It is this one. Let me mute that. Hold on. It's going to be, I just want to show you a little bit about this imposter that they wind up catching. I got some information on him. Let me share it. Then we're almost done. So, here it goes. This last video I got.
Andy Mack, we are now less than an hour away from that proposed deadline that the Pima County Sheriff says they potentially have on a ransom note involved in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Guthrie, the Today Show host. And they laid out a sort of timeline earlier on today at this press conference, giving some sense of what we're doing, but still no suspects. Still no person of interest right now at this point. And they're also calling on the community for help. There's a reward out there, but they're also advising people. This a post on social media saying the Pima County Sheriff's Department understands that many people want to share their thoughts and prayers with the family of Nancy Guthrie, and we appreciate the community support. We respectfully ask that these messages be shared on social media and not through the Pima County non-emergency phone line. Calls expressing condolences have overwhelmed our communication staff. It's critical that the line remains available for law enforcement purposes. Thank you for your understanding, your cooperation as we continue to serve that community. All right, let's continue on here on Live Now from Fox and dive into more of the latest with this. Let's be joined on the ground in Tucson, Arizona, in this Catalina Foothills neighborhood by Fox 10's Justin Lum. Justin, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, they laid down that timeline, some of the details that were involved in this ransom note. They do not know if Nancy Guthrie is alive, but there's still hope out there. What are you learning at this hour?
Andy, thanks for having me, and we are definitely going to get into that note in just a moment. Just want to show you some of the contrast here. As you remember, just yesterday, there was a full-on crime scene and perimeter set up around the home of Nancy Guthrie. Today, much quieter, aside from the media outlets here tracking the case. This investigation far from over as long as Nancy is still missing. And we talked to the Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, about that, asking, if he regretted or, wanted to reconsider anything, having a scene up on Monday and then a scene again yesterday. There was a lot of access to the home between that time. He says this can turn into a Monday morning quarterback situation, but he believes his investigators did a good job and processed the scene completely. You had this influx of FBI resources, and they wanted to take another look.
Hold on, Russ. That wasn't. I mean, we got a little more. That wasn't. We covered that. That wasn't the video I thought it was supposed to go into the imposter. So I have his picture and stuff. Sorry, I let that play, but again, guys, we're doing that. So there's this guy, Derek Kalea. I want to show you his picture. He has a bit of a role in here. So this guy here. Let me show you full screen. There he is. You see the guy, Derek Kalea, right there, whatever his name is? So he's got a bit of a role in here.
Yeah, part of a group of 13 LA County employees who stole $430,000 in unemployment benefits, accused of stealing $9,984 between May 6th and January 2022. Charged with one felony count of grand theft and one misdemeanor. Former LA County employee. Age 42, location Torrance, Hawthorne, California. He has a music persona where he calls himself Secret Mutilator. Describes his music as slash and burn, modern sound, terrorists, lust, and lawlessness. Sells merch with Russian mafia propaganda posters. And last Instagram post was January 20th, a beat called Murdered by Words.
Yeah, so amid the media emails, another figure surfaced, an imposter who texts the family directly. Federal complaints and local coverage identify him as Derek Anthony Correa, 42, of Hawthorne, California, a former Los Angeles County Department of Health Service intermediate clerk who was already facing a separate unemployment benefit fraud case when prosecutors say he tried to cash in on the Guthrie's ordeal in October of 2025. The LA County DA charged him as one of 13 county employees, like you mentioned, accused of stealing more than $430,000 in unemployment benefits. Charging documents allege he personally took about $9,984. On February 4th, shortly after the family's video plea, Kalea allegedly used a VoIP virtual number to send 2 texts to Nancy's loved ones, including, "Did you get the Bitcoin? We're waiting on our end for the transaction," along with a brief 9-second call. Investigators traced the messages to an email account and IP addresses linked to his home. And in interviews, he admits sending the text, says he pulled family contact info from a People Search cyber website and claims he was trying to see if the family would respond, having followed the case on TV. He is charged in a federal criminal complaint with transmitting a demand for ransom in interstate commerce under 18 USC subsection 875A, and without disclosing his identity, using a telecommunication device with intent to abuse, threaten, or harass under 47 USC subsection 223, a classic impostor ransom demand not linked to the main note. According to DOJ and federal law guidance, the ransom demand count carries up to 20 years in federal prison, and the harass and telecom count can add up to roughly 2 years plus fines, meaning that on paper he faces a potential maximum of about 22 years and substantial fines if convicted on both counts, though any real sentence would depend on the guidelines and how the case resolves. Law enforcement and commentators cite his case as an example of secondary crimes. High-profile abductions now attract grief profiteers trying to cash in who can still end up staring at double-digit federal exposure, even if they never laid a hand on the victim. So multiple outlets have run his booking-style photo, a white male in his early 40s with short, dark hair, sometimes in glasses, shown in a jail jumpsuit or T-shirt against a neutral background, which is how he's likely to be visually introduced in court coverage. Hey, Russ, what is, out of curiosity, do you know what a VIOP virtual number is?
Yeah, so there are a number of phone companies out there, and VoIP is voice over internet protocol, and it's just a way to make calls on the internet, basically, is what it is. A lot of people have gone from having your more traditional landlines to having this VoIP system. And so VoIP is, just a way to still have a landline, but not have to have a landline, basically. And they're very, cheaper than a real landline. And, they just work off of your router, basically.
Yeah, and it goes to show you, I mean, if he's willing to fake something, that doesn't, that could mean that he's not the only one. I say 2 last sections, Russ. So viewers spot investigators carrying a UFD. All right, so this was recently. a UFD Celebrite mobile forensic unit out of the Guthrie home. Digital forensics expert Todd Shipley explains that UFED devices allow agents to extract data on scene from phones and computers and then process it back at the lab rather than seizing every device. Shipley notes that investigators will be looking not just at Nancy's phone, but at family devices as well, because apps relevant to the case, Ring or other doorbell platforms, Life 360, Uber Eats, shared camera app, Pacemaker monitoring frequent live or unshared family accounts, alert clips, and ride receipts might therefore reside on relatives' phones, even if Nancy's own device never left the house, which explains the Celebrite box without implying suspicion of the family. What, you're familiar with that, Russ? A Celebrite box?
Yeah, there's a couple of different things that law enforcement
What is that?
uses. One of them, that most people are familiar with are Stingray devices. This is just a little bit similar to that. They just usually, plug into things and it just downloads, all of the metadata available from different devices. And so any connections that were made or anything like that become apparent to them, and then they can run it against their databases, which they have access to that are, just manifold in comparison to what most people can get off of, some metadata.
Well, look, I got a little video of what it is. If anybody's interested, it's a 2-minute video. Let me show you. Let's see here. Hold on. I'm curious what that is. Remember, guys, they have a lot of law enforcement here. Police. Let's see. Who is helping case? Who is the lead? I know the FBI will do anything digital, forensic, stuff like that. They're experts at that. I'm sure I'd like to think Pima County is the lead, but I think it's the case is being run as a joint local federal effort with Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos as the local lead and FBI, SAC Heath Jank as the federal lead. Chris Nanos, Pima County Sheriff, is the primary local authority in charge of this investigation into Nancy's disappearance. And then he oversees the sheriff's, detectives, crime scene processing at the house, neighborhood canvassing, and local tip taking, and is the one publicly stating we do in fact have a crime. She was taken from her home against her will. And then Heath Jank, or special agent in charge of the FBI Phoenix division, is leading the FBI side of the case. His team is handling digital forensics, Bitcoin ransom analysis, interstate leads, and coordination on the impostor arrest. He announced a $50,000 reward, confirmed the ransom emails to media, and said this is the 84-year-old grandma. We're treating every lead with seriousness. They also had the I never heard of them before. Is it the ICAC?
Yeah, ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children, and Internet Crimes Against Children. That particular division of the Bureau of the FBI has to do obviously a lot with child porn and child abuse and the sexual abuse of children and trafficking and things like that. So this is obviously not that, but that particular division has a lot of this type of technology available to them. And so they came in, they were probably the closest unit. And so they were able to, connect to these devices and be able to see things like, potentially text messages that have been erased, depending on the way her phone might have connected to different family members and things like that. So it's natural that they would have been called in under a situation like this because they have the ability, they have the technology, and they have the expertise.
Yeah, their expertise for deep dives. And then it has Tucson Police Department, Pasqua Yaqui Police Department, Marana. Wait, so at the main point joint presser, Nano said they activated a critical incident team made up of law enforcement from across the Tucson Valley. So Tucson Police Department, Pasqua Yaqui Police Department, Marana Police Department, Oro Valley Police, Pima Community College. I mean, they're getting as rightfully so. Okay, so let's get to this last part. Let me show you this Celebrite box. Hold on one second. And then we got the last part, section 9.
What is a Celebrite UFED? Have you ever wondered how law enforcement gathers evidence from mobile devices during investigations? One of the key tools they use is the Celebrite Universal Forensics Extraction Device. This specialized device is designed to extract, analyze, and preserve digital evidence from a variety of mobile devices. These can include smartphones, tablets, SIM cards, and even GPS devices. The Celebrite UFED is essential for forensic investigations because it allows officers to access critical data stored on these devices in a way that maintains the integrity of the evidence. This is important for ensuring that the evidence can be used in court. The device supports over 4,000 models, including the latest Android and Apple smartphones. Mobile devices often hold valuable information such as call logs, text messages, emails, photos, videos, and even deleted files. This data can be crucial for solving crimes. The Celebrite UFED helps investigators extract this information quickly and efficiently. There are different versions of the UFED tailored to various needs. The standard version is typically used in office or lab settings, while a ruggedized version is designed for field use by law enforcement and military personnel. The system includes software upgrades, such as Physical Pro, which allows for deeper access to device data beyond standard extractions. Using the UFED is straightforward. Investigators can select specific data types to extract and conduct efficient searches within the extracted data. This helps them focus on the information that is most relevant to their investigation. While connectivity with devices is generally reliable, some limitations exist with certain phone models. For example, GSM phones without SIM cards may require technical workarounds to access data. In practical applications, the Celebrite UFED is widely used in cybercrime investigations and mobile device forensics. It allows officers to uncover hidden or deleted data that suspects may try to conceal. This capability strengthens cases and speeds up the pursuit of justice. Regular updates to the hardware and software are necessary to keep the Celebrite UFED compatible with new devices and operating system versions. Overall, the Celebrite Universal Forensics Extraction Device is a vital tool in modern digital forensics. It enables law enforcement agencies to extract and analyze mobile device data securely and effectively during criminal investigations.
Hey, by the way, it looks like they bonded out that texter, the Bitcoin texter, the one that wasn't connected to the original, those two ransom notes, but it says the California man facing federal charges for allegedly texting Nancy Guthrie family about the Bitcoin ransom payment has been granted bond by a judge and may be out of federal custody in no time. Derek Khalili, a 42-year-old man from Hawthorne, made his first court appearance Friday afternoon in U.S. District Court in Santa Ana. U.S. Magistrate Judge Karen E. Scott ordered Khalili to be released on $20,000 bond. He's been ordered to not contact the alleged victim or witnesses. Federal prosecutors claim Khalili texted Nancy's daughter Annie and her son-in-law Tommaso Cioni. Did you get the Bitcoin? We're waiting on our end for the transaction. I mean, they gave him bond. That's what it says. Last part. How fucking criminal justice system, man. Okay, so last part, guys. TMZ and follow-up outlets report that in early January, an elderly man who lives less than 10 minutes from Nancy's home saw a trespasser in his yard. A motion-activated floodlight came on, and the person fled on foot with nothing stolen and no break-in. Pima County says that trespassing case has been forwarded to the unit investigating Nancy's abduction as a possible lead because of the timing, proximity, and overlap with floodlight references in the ransom note, but they have not publicly linked it to the kidnapping. On Friday, February 6th, the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department issued a joint statement saying they are aware of a new message regarding Nancy Guthrie. That's the one that came in today, and that investigators are actively inspecting the information provided in the message for its authenticity. Routers note that the statement characterizes this as one new piece of information in the investigation without describing its content or origin. Reuters, Reuters, CNN, USA Today, and CBS report that the message was sent to Tucson news outlet that previously received a ransom note identified by multiple sources as KOLD, which forwarded to law enforcement. KOLD News Director Jessica Babula tells Elizabeth Vargas that the new message arrived around 11:45 a.m. via KOLD's online new tip form, which requires a name, email, and birthday. She says KOLD sent it immediately to investigators and the FBI and did not report its contents until authorities publicly acknowledged its existence. Babola adds that the first and second KOLD message each use different names, emails, and birth dates, but technical logs show they use similar cloaking software, and she says they sound the same in tone and tenure with similar sentence structure. So editorially, she believes they came from the same sender under different aliases. NBC, citing three officials briefed on the matter, reports that this new message came into KOLD TV today, that the station immediately notified law enforcement that confirming its authenticity and origin will take time because both emails were sent in ways that make them very difficult to trace. Investigators are now trying to determine whether the two notes came from the same sender and account. The new message, like the first, contains no proof of life and didn't say anything at all about Nancy's condition, and analysts see it as a possible escalation in which the same actor is trying to keep control of the narrative via the press, even after the first deadline passes. By this point, national outlets are describing the investigation as entering its sixth day with the initial Thursday deadline passed, a second deadline scheduled for Monday, and still no proof of life and no named suspect or person of interest in the abduction. So if we strip away all the noise right now, this is the spine of what can be said right now in confidence. A precisely logged Saturday, Uber 5:32 p.m., garage 9:48 to 9:50 p.m., with Nancy's limited mobility and medication needs make involuntary departure implausible. A 41-minute early Sunday window, 1:47 to 2:28 a.m., where the doorbell camera is taken offline and removed. A person is detected with no video, and the Pacemaker app disconnects from a phone that appears to stay at home given a time range and not a GPS pin. A Sunday porch with Nancy's blood, home processed, released, and processed again as a crime scene. 3 media-rooted Bitcoin ransom emails with dual deadlines, non-public details about an Apple Watch, a floodlight, and clothing, but no proof of life, described as carefully crafted yet not playing by the rules of real ransom cases. Harvey Levin adds that a phase in the note points to Nancy being held within a radius around Tucson, not across the country, and a family publicly saying we're ready to talk, and we haven't heard anything directly. An impostor already charged for fake Bitcoin texts. UFED teams pulling data from every relevant device. A trespassing case in a nearby yard with the motion floodlight now on detectives' radar. And a second KOLD note via their tip form, likely from the same alias shifting sender under FBI analysis with no proof of life and authenticity, still unresolved, while investigators emphasize that no one has been eliminated from consideration. Everything beyond this spine, motive, number of offenders, whether this is organized crime, a lone actor, an opportunistic predator, is still unproven and has to be treated as an open question. And as of now, the son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, whatever, he's not a suspect. Russ, anything you'd like to say in closing? There was a lot here.
Yeah, that last part, they're spending a lot of time producing news stories that have no actual news in them right now. And Reuters, to its credit, actually only gave the bare bones about what was there. Everyone else jumped on and dissected everything. And, it really had none of the hallmarks of a real ransom note. I think that the other ones reported on the fact that there were no actual ransom demands in it, that there was no proof of life, that there was no way for families to communicate, for the family to communicate back. And so this is just more of the bullshit that we see in today's society. These other ones that reported on this, not that I have a great deal of respect for Reuters, but because I have my own hangups with them, but I will say at least they didn't, start, reporting on every facet of it to try and generate clicks. Everyone else, I think for the most part did.
Yeah, guys, and this was a great dialogue. We try to cover it. Me and Russ will keep on top of this case, but we're going to probably wait to the later end of the day because a lot of updates happen. Let me just do one more final check, make sure we're good on this one. I also just did an update on the Anna Kepner case. Looks like the stepbrother was arrested. You'll see the whole breakdown on that. There's a lot there. And I think that's it for now on this one, guys. All eyes on the new message. Investigators return to Nancy Guthrie's home, and that's after the new message. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, we have links in the description. Buy me a cup of coffee. Myself and Russ is in that description. Mine first and Russ is right behind. Below mine. As always, guys, stay safe.